What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Celtics Talk podcast here on the NBC Sports Boston podcast network. Brian Scalabrine, Eddie House coming up to break down Boston's Game 7 victory over the Milwaukee Bucks and a little peek ahead to what's next with the Eastern Conference Finals and the Miami Heat. But just to set the table, Celtics come in here and Grant Williams, the story of the night. I think there's a lot of people hearkening back now to the Kelly Olynyk game and the unexpected superstar who emerges from this. I will admit, I didn't think this would be one of those nights. I thought the way Jason Tatum played after Game 6, this was going to be a night that would be dominated by the superstars. But maybe the most fascinating part of this whole game was Jason Tatum picks up his fourth foul with 7:55 to go in the third quarter, has to go to the bench. The Celtics have struggled mightily throughout these playoffs and really every time since Jason Tatum's come into the league to maintain offense without him. Not only do they weather the storm, but they actually push the lead up, outscore Milwaukee by 5 over those final 7:55. Again, go to the fourth quarter with a comfortable lead and find a way to get to the finish line in a game that was probably a little less close than we thought. The Celtics were able to frustrate Giannis Antetokounmpo throughout this series. Give Grant Williams credit there, but the story of the night, of course, is Grant Williams going full Steph Curry, and Jaylen Brown saying afterward that they were calling him Grant Curry in the locker room. Must be something in the water there in Charlotte, North Carolina. Those roots, the two of them now, two of the most elite Game 7 shooters in all of the league. So Celtics had to grind through this one, and I think what I'm most interested in is how they kind of get out of this and how they respond now moving on to what could be another very physical series. But before we start looking ahead, let's look back. Here's Eddie and Scal on Game 7 victory and what comes next. All right, Eddie, Scal. Scal, you actually predicted. I want to start with you. You said it was going to be a Game 7. It wasn't as close as you expected, though. You said it was going to be a 5-point game in the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, finally the Celtics woke up and started playing the way that they should play, opening up the floor, moving the basketball. When they do this, it just makes them that much better. I don't know why they would walk the ball up against this Buck team. I don't know why you would ever want to try to wrestle like Shaquille O'Neal. You want to play fast. They decided to do that early on. They had their bumps in the road, but ultimately this is their identity, and hopefully they carry that on in the Miami series.
Biggest takeaway from you from a grueling 7-game series?
Well, is that this is a real defensive juggernaut in the Boston Celtics. They are a team that can defend, and they have multiple guys that can defend multiple positions, which make them very dangerous. And then once they start defending, they have the same thing on the offensive end. They got multiple guys that can make plays for themselves and make plays for others and knock down open shots. So when all of that is clicking, you get a game like this, a 109-81, where you see them shut down guys at the end, a team at the end of the first half only allowing 17 points, shutting them down in the fourth quarter, only allowing 17 points. For those 2 quarters, 34 points. That's a damn good defensive performance.
Scal, what would points bet odds have been on Grant Williams to be the Kelly Olynyk-like hero for Game 7?
Especially after how bad he played. But, every game has a different life and a different personality. If they decide that Al Horford's not going to get any open shots, they just got to pick and choose who they're going to go to. Today they were like, Grant Williams is not going to beat us. That's what they thought. And I don't know what you could have made saying Grant Williams was going to attempt 18 threes, but in the playoffs where you have a game plan going in and you have guys telling you, we need you to take these shots because Jason Tatum can't have people sitting in his lap. Jaylen Brown, the same thing. Al Horford, if they decide they want to switch and stay home, they're going to help off of somebody. And if Brook Lopez is out there, you can either A, challenge him at the rim, or B, kick it out for a wide-open shot, and I'll take the wide-open shot all day.
Eddie, lead me through, because Grant hits his first one, but then went a little cold, and then it felt like both him and Derek White maybe just a little bit hesitant for it. It didn't last long. But from a shooter's perspective, how do you just say, all right, they're challenging me to take this. I need to make sure I shoot this with confidence.
You got to believe in your work. You have to understand that, hey, man, I put countless hours into this, and I believe in myself. I trust in myself, and I trust in my work. You have to have that confidence that no matter what, you can make the next one. And they always say this, you can't make it unless you take it, right?
For sure.
So you have to take those shots that they're giving you, and he stepped into it. He was kind of hesitant he missed, I think, like 2 straight, 3 straight, and then he was hesitant, like not even looking at the rim. But I think he said, Coach Ime Udoka got on him and said, hey, man, let it fly. We need you to let it fly. And when you get that confidence from your coach saying, we need you to shoot it, your teammates coming up saying, man, shoot that thing, that takes you to another level. Then you really start really believing, like, yeah, man, I could do this. I put in the work. I deserve this. This is a big-time moment. I've been dreaming about this moment. I need to step up in this moment, and that's what he did.
And usually in the NBA, when you have a forward that could shoot, and like Grant Williams does, right? Like, he's a good shooter. Usually that guy gives up something on the other end of defense, or he can't rebound, or he can't do anything like that. So the Celtics have a very unique team. Defensively, individually, they can guard. They could scramble out when they do get beat off the dribble. They do a good job of rotating. And then offensively, they have space and they have decision makers. That in 2022 is the formula for having success. Now, you have to go out there and do it as consistent as you can. But that right there, when you start looking at all the good teams, the teams that move the ball, the teams that scramble well defensively, the teams that have individuals that can guard, and the teams that have guys that can knock down shots, those are the hardest teams and hardest players to guard.
All right, I want to spin it ahead because people are going to move on quickly. It's what's next. We always do this, right? Eddie, what do they got to do? And tell me about this, because you guys played a whole bunch of those 7-game series at the start of the 2008 track. How hard is it when you've been going through a grind like that to then have to turn around and go to another series, especially against a team like Miami?
I don't think it's hard. I think that you've been prepared for this. And it's at this time of the season, it's this time of the year that where all the buck stops here, all hands on deck. It doesn't matter. Everybody's playing with some sort of nick up or anything. You're not 100% healthy, but mentally you're as sharp as you're going to be. You know, you've been hooping all season long. You finally got to the spot that you want to be in. You had some time off before the playoffs kicked off. Now it's just you're chasing that gold ball. You're chasing the Larry O'Brien trophy. There's no time to be tired. There's no time to be fatigued. You have to be mentally engaged, and that's when your teammates pick you up and help. And that's when it becomes a team effort. And I think the one thing about looking ahead against the Miami Heat, they're not a team like the Milwaukee Bucks that can beat you up on the glass. And that was, if you look at the games that we struggled, we got beat up on the offensive glass. Miami's not going to pose that problem to us, which I think is a plus for us.
But they have other problems.
They do have, but they're not going to pose that problem. No. And I think that was the biggest problem for us in this series was the glass. And I don't think we'll have that issue. There's other issues that we'll deal with, but I definitely don't think they're as huge or as glaring as giving up 17 offensive rebounds.
I feel like the Bucks it was going to be a wrestling match. But when you look at this series coming up, it's going to be two teams that are very similar in their build. Versatility, name of the game. They love the three-point shot. They want to move and drive and kick. And Miami, I thought all season long, was the best passing team as a group in the NBA. You could add in right now, like the Warriors probably look better, and then the Phoenix Suns have dropped off from where they're at. But Miami passes the ball to space. They move to space. They get that ball. They drive. So for the Celtics, scrambling, which I just mentioned, but when they have an open player, they hit that open player. It's not like what we just watched. Like Giannis was a little reluctant to give that ball up. This is going to be appropriate help. I got to build out the shooters. I got to contain the dribble, and you got to do it over and over again. What they're going into is a lot harder to guard than Giannis, like imposing his will physically.
Go ahead.
But let me ask you this. When it comes down to it, I think this is going to be one of them dogfight series to where it's going to come down to the last few possessions and execution, right? Who has the better players? Who's going to execute better? I think you look at Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum, you could probably say you could watch that. Both of them are really good, right?
No, Tatum's better.
Tatum's better, but I'm saying they're both really good. So you have somebody.
But Jimmy's great in clutch.
You have somebody that could.
Great.
You have somebody that can step up.
Jimmy thinks he's the greatest player on this planet.
Right. And that's what it takes, though. So you got somebody that can step up.
All right, so go ahead.
Tatum that can step up. That's okay. And then now you got Brown, right?
Okay.
Do you think Tyler Hero is where Jaylen Brown is? I don't think so.
No.
Right? So then where is the –
Well, what do you – how do you value Bam Adebayo?
I value him a whole lot, but he's a guy that's going to be more of a facilitator. He's going to get hustle plays. So he's going to be dribble handoff, pick and pop, pick and rolls. Those guys I'm talking about when it comes down and you have a matchup. When you're seeking a matchup, I think we have the favorable matchup to where we can use Jaylen Brown and go seek somebody out. We could use Jason Tatum and go seek somebody out.
That don't work against the Heat.
I don't think the Heat have anybody that they could seek out on our team and say, hey, we're going to take advantage of that.
That's what Philly tried to do, and they got smacked.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the end of the game, not like constant.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about when it
Okay.
comes down to that time of the game. We have guys that can get theirs.
For sure.
And I don't know how many guys they have on that team that you could say that's a mismatch.
Yeah, it's interesting when Miami came in, they out-executed us down the stretch. Like, they looked like the better team in the fourth quarter. Now, it was a game where the Celtics were rolling, and the Miami Heat came in here. Because it was like people were battling. Celtics could have had the number one seed. Miami came in here and flexed on the Celtics. And that moment right there, I was surprised. I really thought that our team was going to be better in the last 5 minutes of that particular game. But it wasn't even close, the way the Heat came in here, the way they executed, the way they switched up their defenses. We were really on our heels in the fourth quarter, even though we dominated that game for 3 quarters. So I'm really curious on what the Celtics do when they're in a tight game against the Heat. I don't feel like the series is going to unfold like this. I feel like it's going to be right down to the wire, 6 minutes to go. Okay, your best versus our best. And my main thing for the Celtics, when they start switching up the defenses and trying to get you on your heels, be prepared for that, and you better have a counter for everything that they do.
You sound pretty confident. What do you think happens in this series?
I think we win it. I think the Celtics win it in 6. I think it's going to be one of those series to where the Heat will look back and be like, man, that's a game we let go. We could be on the other end. It could go either way. I think it's going to be a tight series like that. It could go either way. Great coaching on both ends, great players, great talent. But I think we do have the deeper team that can do more. I think we could shoot better. I think we shoot better from long range, from 3. I think we can make more plays. Guys can make more plays for themselves and for others, and we all can defend. So to me, that's why I give us the edge.
We get 1, they get 2, we get 3, 4, they get 5, we get 6. Game series over.
Wow.
Yeah.
We don't even have to tune in.
No,
we called everything with the Bucks series, and some of us said that the Nets was going to be a roll.
No, I didn't. How about all the road teams?
Well.
We said 7, but I just feel like the Celtics will get 1, and then we'll probably drop the ball. Like there is. Remember, these games are every other day, and the Celtics were in a grueling battle. The Miami Heat, that was not a grueling battle. They dusted up the 76ers, who weren't that good, by the way. We thought they were a lot better. So, obviously, rest is on the Heat side, and they're going to be prepared and all that. But I do think Celtics come in and get game 1.
Last thing, what's the X factor?
For us or for both?
For the whole series. Like if we're assuming that the Celtics are going to win this series, what is the X factor?
I think it's 3-point shooting.
I think it's turnovers. Again, I'm going to lean on turnovers because we can't give Miami any extra. But they're not going to squander extra possessions away like Milwaukee did. Because it was tonight, Milwaukee. Jason Tatum had 7 turnovers. Milwaukee squandered a lot of those turnovers that they did. They didn't execute on them, and they didn't turn them into points. Miami will do that.
Yeah, I think it's 3-point shooting. If we got to be close. Whoever gets blown out on that stat, like if the Bucks, right? They got blown out in the 3-point game, and so therefore we win the series. But I think it's going to be a lot closer. They got a lot of great shooters. We got a lot of great shooters. I think 3-point shooting is going to dictate this. If you can win the battle of the threes, you'll win the game.
It all starts Tuesday night. Who would have thought we'd be here back in January?
No, not in January.
Not in January.
Maybe in March.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. I mentioned that there at the end with those guys. I think it's crazy that if we could rewind to January 6th and we told ourselves that the Celtics would be in a Game 7 against the defending champions and trying to get to a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals, probably be pretty hard to believe when they were 3 games under 500. It's been a magical little run, and I think you don't get many chances to step back and savor it, but it was neat to see the atmosphere inside the Garden. I don't know if we could have expected quite the Game 7 showdown that we got at the start, or even in that January, and even as they were making their second half surge through with the dominant final 42 games and being the best team in the league in defensive and offensive rating, expectations certainly went up, and I think it would have been a little bit disappointing if we were sitting here trying to put a bow on the season and figuring out what comes next in the off season and what they would need to do to get on the level. But for Tatum to have the game that he did in Game 6, for the supporting cast to step up in Game 7, and now here we are talking about Miami. I'm fascinated to see how the Celtics bounce back. Again, that the physicality of this series was off the charts. Miami is going to bring the same level of intensity. The Celtics need to hit the ice bath for the next 40 hours or whatever it is before they get down to Miami. and be ready to go. I think the start of this series is going to be particularly difficult. I think Game 1 is going to really take quite the effort from the Celtics in order to win that game, but I think they'll settle in from there, and eager to see just how this all unfolds, what the time off does for Miami after they rolled a little bit in that series. Who will be available? Will Kyle Lowry be out there? Flashbacks to the bubble and how important he was in that grueling 7-game series against Toronto a couple years ago. Celtics certainly have revenge on the mind from that bubble with the core of this Miami team still in place, but there's a whole bunch of time to go down that road, or maybe not. Maybe I guess we're right into this next series. But do take a moment to savor what we've experienced here the last 3 months of this, 4 months of this journey, and we'll see where it goes from here. But I need everybody to go like, subscribe, check us out on the YouTube page. We'll catch you from South Beach on the next Celtics Talk podcast.